works. And we're live. Let's first check if we're live on X as well. The weekly drill. You know what it is. We are live. Amazing. We're live on X. We're live on YouTube. Yeah, welcome everyone. Hi. Weekly live stream. Some of you know how it's how we're doing this every week, Thursday. Most of the times 4 p.m. And today I'm very happy to welcome our founder and CEO Albert. Albert, thanks for taking the time, first of all.
No, thank you.
We've had many guests. We've had Christian on for live coding sessions to give people an understanding of how to code intelligent contracts. And today we're going to have you, and this is a topic that we have been discussing a lot of times and actually refining in the last few weeks, which is trust infrastructure for the AI age. And yeah, I'm super bumped actually for this because I think it is a very important topic. We're going to talk about GenLayer's vision. We're going to talk about why it needs trust infrastructure for the AI age. And this will also include a POAP. So those of you who are here every week can know the drill as well. We are going to have a secret password at the end. You just need to download, I'm going to display it here in the live stream as well. You just need to download the POAP Home app. And then at the end of the session at 4:30 p.m. CT or 3:30 p.m. UTC, you can mint the POAP. Okay, but now without further ado, Albert, how have you been?
Everything is good. How's everyone? Yeah, I'm good. Planning everything for next week. We're gonna have an offsite here with all the team, and it's gonna be fun. Like just getting everything ready for it.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, amazing. Well, first of all, Albert, I think you have a lot to say about the vision and how we are positioning ourselves. Again, I mentioned trust infrastructure for the AI age. Everyone, please feel free to ask questions at any time. Like Albert is super happy to answer them anytime. Feel free to interrupt us. Feel free to send messages in the chat. I can already see some people: BS, Hello World, AAV, Shrieks, Top VN. Hi to everyone. So there's some people from our community. And let's start, Albert, by breaking down, what's currently happening. Obviously, crypto and AI is a huge narrative in the crypto world right now. We are starting to, actually, there already are a lot of agents. There are some frameworks like Virtuals. Arc is working on some of those things. Can you give us a broad, understanding of what's currently happening in the space, where we're going, and kind of, an overview of what's happening right now?
Sure. I mean, it's a pretty big question, right? So just like let's try to make it easy. I guess what's happening right now is that the way I look at it, crypto has been a bit boring for the last few years. I think people are very eager to see new things come up, right? Meme coins got tons of attention. Most of them ended up being, just pump and dump, so they didn't work out. I think that what we're now seeing is a new wave of utility where basically blockchains are being used in order to, for example, facilitate payments between different agents and trying.
Okay, I think Albert is cut off now. Test. Okay, let's give him a second. He's gonna be back. No, it's not just you, Freaks. Let's see where he is. Test. Okay, so Albert says everything crashed. That happens, technology, right? Yeah, so I think where Albert was going was there's a lot of, there's a lot of things happening in the AI world, especially decentralized AI. There's a lot of buzzwords out there, and a lot of companies, are kind of building in this narrative, but not really providing any value or not having a clear value proposition. It's a very broad topic, and you can do AI with crypto, like the intersection in a lot of different ways. You can, decentralize inference. You can decentralize storage. You can. There's so many things really that you can take a look at that make sense, that will always have users, and that are super important, especially looking at the centralized AI space. And what most of you can already see, that there's so many agents. Like if you just simply look at Kaito or Cookie Fun, like you can see, I don't know, hundreds, thousands. Maybe there's someone out there who actually knows the real number. There's so many agents out there, and I don't know, 80-90% of them do the same thing. They have, they're still reliant, or they're based on an LLM actually. And what they do is, some of you have heard of AI XBT, of Goat. That's actually how it started, right, with Goat. Then Goat kind of Truth Terminal endorsed Fartcoin and AI Meme Coin. And then everything took the way to, how can we get to agents? Then in the last few weeks, we have heard of OpenAI actually announcing a developer agent that you can buy for 10,000 per month, or the PhD level developer agent for, I think, 20,000 USD per month. Albert I think Albert knows the exact number. Then you had QWQ with a new LLM. Then you had Magnus AI that released what they claim to be a fully autonomous agent. So there's a lot of things happening, but the most mind share is concentrated around agents. So especially in the crypto space, because they do provide a lot of value, and it just makes sense. Like if you have an agent that is built on or built with Web3 infrastructure, or can interact with Web3 infrastructure, you can kind of imagine you having a wallet, right, where you have your money with which you can pay for services, for goods, and then you have an agent that can actually do autonomously do things for you just by plugging it into your wallet. So you basically you can do everything with the agent. You can tell it, hey, I have an intent. I want to swap 100 BTC for whatever amount of Ethereum, and the agent, hey Albert, the agent will do it for you, right? So it makes a lot of sense to plug it to decentralized or blockchain infrastructure. Can you hear me, Albert?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just don't see the video.
Yeah, I have some issue, I think. I don't know, some connectivity issue. So we can continue like this if you want.
Sure.
Let's see if it holds on. I think it's a similar thing, but anyway.
Yeah.
We can carry on.
You can send me the presentation that we were about to show, if your infrastructure is working, so I can pull it up.
Yeah, I'll do that. Let's carry on.
Yeah, but apart from that, so I was talking about agents, like how they make a lot of sense, that there's a lot of things happening in AI, that we have agents and why they make sense in a decentralized infrastructure. And I think from there you can pick it up.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, what we're seeing right now is how people are basically building new types of applications on top of blockchains, right? Normally it's frameworks that use AI in order to, decide what to do. These are these agents that you're talking about, right? And I think where we're going is not just that, that's going to be completely commoditized. There's going to be many, many, many frameworks. And the question is, well, what do you want to use these agents for, right? To me, the answer is you want to make them make money, right? You want to have an agent that's costing you $1,000 a month to make more than $1,000 a month. Very, very simple. So what we're working on is essentially trying to find a way so that they can have a way to communicate and have agreements between them that allows them to make money, right? It's like, how do you create a synthetic jurisdiction, like a new place where they can commerce in a way that is reliable?
So would you say, like, if we talk about agent commerce, like, how could that field look like? Like, obviously you're putting in labor. So a developer would have to put in his or her own labor to create more, right? So a developer codes something, and then you have the result, which is the code, the dApp, whatever he or she decides to code. Now with an agent, actually, if you've built the agent or you just bought an agent, like a subscription model, let's just call it like on ChatGPT, it can code it for you, right? So you're multiplying your labor, right? So the agent is conducting business on your behalf. Or how do you see that?
I think that it's going to be, the whole model will be changing, right? Is you're thinking about content creation. So instead of you creating the content, you will just have a bunch of agents that can be creating content on your behalf, and you can guide them, right? So it's going to be more like we're orchestra directors, and they're doing, their work basically for us, right? And that makes you think, okay, so there's going to be tons and tons of agents doing things, so the noise will be insane. So how do you clean the noise? Well, you need an agent to clean the noise, right? How does marketing work in a world like this? Well, agents will have to be able to go through the noise, to navigate it. If you have a business, then you will need to target the agents in order for them to, come to your business and do something on your platform, right?
Yeah. And I think this goes into the direction of kind of GenLayer. What happens? Like, first of all, what's the economic value behind everyone? Because that is the foreseeable future, right? Like, everyone will have at least one, but we think multiple agents that are going to trade, talk, like convert, do whatever they're designed to do, right? So how big is this? Like, what is the, like, how big do you think will it be? Like, how big is the space? Like, will everyone have his or her own agent?
I think everybody will have one, not one, multiple, right? I think the answer is in the trillions of dollars. I think what will happen is that it's going to be completely commoditized. There's already multiple open source frameworks for essentially running agents, and there's going to be more and more and more. And at the end of the day, it's going to be trillions of agents out there working for us, right? They will want to make money. They will try to make money with the resources and the expertise that they have. Many of them will have exactly the same type of skills, right? You can try to specialize some to here or to there, but ultimately I think that the margin is going to be reduced enormously to the point where basically anything where an agent can create value, there's going to be multiple agents trying to do that, and the margin will be reduced. It will be specializing them, and it will make essentially everything cheaper. It will make everything cheaper to the extent of just not making any economic sense to do it at less price than that. Basically commoditized, right?
Yeah.
It's a very strange world to live in, but I strongly think that that's where we're heading. It's like it's going to be every person will have 10 agents working on different things for them, and then reporting back, and potentially you can have an agent that's organizing other agents. We're not there yet, but it's just a matter of time. It seems pretty clear that if you have an agent that's costing you $1,000 a month and it's giving you 101,000, well, how many of them do you want? Right? That's a 10% per month. Are you happy to have one? Are you happy to have 10? How many do you want? And if you do that, how many agents is someone like OpenAI have, or like
Yeah.
Microsoft, or yeah. So I think that there's going to be endless amount of agents focusing on whatever they can get most margin from, and that's what we're working on. What we're working on is essentially a new place, a new jurisdiction where they can come in and make commerce on brand new business models, right? Like, we know the type of businesses that you can build on blockchains right now, right? You can deposit liquidity for an Aave, or you can deposit liquidity for a Uniswap. I've sent you the deck, by the way, Tony. So on Telegram. So yeah, what's going to happen is this: like they need a place where they can do commerce between themselves, like with each other, right? At the speed that that is required. Now, the question here and what we're working on is, hey, how do agents trust each other? If you have an artificial superintelligence next to you, how does it trust? Does it trust other people blindly? Does it get other people to trust it? Or how does trust happen in this world with a trillion agents, transacting at light speed globally? They never sleep. They always keep going and going, right? So, yeah, if you want to go to the next slide, I think it's going to be helpful, right? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it's just my mouse is not working. I don't know why. That's the problem. Anyway, so yeah, the vision is essentially trillions of dollars are going to be, transacting between agents, right? By 2030, this is only going to go bigger and bigger. This number is from ARK Invest, right? So just to give you an idea, how then the question next slide would be, well, how does trust happen between them, right? Well, these agents, they operate globally. They don't go to sleep. They don't go to jail, right? So the problem here is like, how do they trust each other? Are they just okay with a handshake? Probably not. Do they use a centralized system? So we're very used to having, a legal system with judges and courts and so on, right? That is giving safety to the commerce of today. Yes. The problem with that is that that's extremely slow and very, very, very expensive. Also super fragmented, right? So if you have a litigation between different countries, that can take years and it's super expensive in the millions of dollars. Okay, so what do we do? How do they do commerce in that scenario, right? And the answer is, well, maybe they can use blockchain. So blockchains are global, digital native. They can operate very fast and very cheaply. These contracts are self-enforcing. Now, the problem is that these smart contracts that you can write on a blockchain, they have some limitations such as that they cannot connect to the internet or understand natural language. They cannot make subjective decisions such as the ones that a judge would be making, right? So if you want to go to
Sorry to interrupt you here, Albert.
Mm-hmm.
I would just like to address the questions that we have
feel free
right
to
now, and to give a little bit of a So Shrieks is asking, let's start with the agent question, which is this one. Are there any agents that I can use right now to make money?
I mean, there's some of them, I guess, would be, let me think. So right now, most agents, what they're doing is they're creating content, right?
Yeah.
So they're creating content on Twitter, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that they're working is somebody has very specialized server running it and trying to essentially get, the content inside of a data structure that it can be pulling from in order to get awareness, right? Still pretty early, I would say. It's not so easy as that. Like if for you making money is, for example, creating content, well, the question is, does somebody pay you for the creation of the content, right? And this is something we're working on actually, right? Which is, hey, can we create essentially a trustless contract where people can apply to basically get paid to, creating content? So this is something we are working on and that we're going to be introducing in the next few weeks. But in the meantime, there's a bunch of agents that are trying to optimize it so that you save money instead of make money, right? But ultimately, with the current state of things, like how does an agent, like right now, agents are not smarter than humans. Let's put it like that, right? So you as a human, how do you make money? How would you make money if you just had the superpower of working 24/7 and being able to write super fast and digest tons of information, right? That's what you need to be thinking right now, right? Most of the frameworks today are focused on generating content, on essentially trying to find routes to trade, for example. I think that it's very difficult to assume that with today's technology, they will be much better at trading, for example, than humans are.
Yeah. And to the point of, are there any agents that I can use right now to make money? I think what you can see right now in the deep AI space, like Hey Anon, I know, Albert, you've taken a look, is this intent-based route where you can say, what I've been describing before, I have 100 Bitcoin, change it for me, if possible on a decentralized platform like Rune to Ethereum. Like you could do that, but there is clearly not a way of your agent or anyone else's agent making money. But we might have kind of a solution for that, Albert, right? So I think we have something for you guys, everyone who's asking here, that you're going to be amazed with. And those people that are in our community know it already, kind of. We've talked about it, Albert, if you remember, on Monday's AMA in our Discord. So for everyone who's watching this, you should definitely join our Discord and Telegram, because there's loads of alpha in there that you're only going to get earlier than anyone else in our community. Okay, Albert, we have one more question from Sheiks, which is, are there any DAI projects, apart from yours, of course, thank you, Sheiks, that have caught your fancy and made you genuinely excited about being in this space? Something that blew your mind and you thought could be useful to a lot of people. Well, I think GenLayer, but you go on, Albert.
Right? No, look, I think that there's a few of them that are very interesting. So I feel like, getting like Depin, or like decentralizing inference and so on, that is quite powerful. I think that that's going to be very needed and a fundamental piece of decentralizing AI, right? Now, our real focus is, we want GenLayer to essentially enable for inference as well in a decentralized manner, not because it's running on someone else's computer like that you don't know, but actually because it's a network of computers distributing the load, right? So that's a bit different. If I have to more directly answer your question, for example, there's one that's called Freza. I'm very interested in the, how to solve trust. And there's a bunch of different approaches on how to solve trust, yes? Because I feel like anything that is just software will be essentially commoditized. I strongly think, like, since we started 2.5 years or so looking into agents and so on, our main takeaway very early on was, hey, anything that is just software, you're going to have an LLM that can spit out everything, right? So you can almost work with the assumption that everything is going to be free to code. And if that's the case, how things are working. I think that one thing that will still have a moat will be trust, as I said before. And there's a different approaches on how to generate trust, right? For example, Freza is trying to create a type of digital agent, right? Like that's a sovereign agent, right? Working on a trusted execution environment. You can essentially like give it access to some of your socials and stuff, right? I think that that's where they're going. They basically deal with, different type of like ZK TLS, so different type of ZK technologies in order to do attestation of, you actually have this balance in the bank, or are you paying right now, your X subscription? You can do a bunch of different things with that technology, right? And also they're working as well on the, the research on the AI safety side of things, right? Some things are quite aligned, I think, with GenLayer, so I really like that project. But of course, there are two very different approaches to the problem of how you create trust in the future, right? To me, that is the key thing. For me, like the human like society pretty much works on two main pillars, right? Which is one is intelligence and the other one is trust. Intelligence, we're removing the humans from it now with AI, and trust, we have been removing the humans from it through blockchain, right? So how do you create those two things and how do you combine them? That's what I'm most interested in.
Yeah. Thank you, Edgar's SXT, guys. You're great, very informative. Thanks, Albert. We have one more question, which I think could be an open question to everyone. So everyone feel free to drop your answers in the chat. What could be the ultimate limit for AI agents? Very hard to tell.
That's a pretty difficult question, right? Because the problem is we're going into, a singularity, essentially, right? So either they get much, much smarter than us, and then how can we think what the limit is? Or they don't get smarter than us, and then we just get that the systems that we have right now keep advancing also much, much better than we do, right? In both scenarios, it's very difficult to think what the limit is going to be, because it's like the speed of everything is going to be changing. Like some people think that, for example, in the next 10 years, you can have 100 years of innovation, right? That's crazy. How can you foresee what will happen, 100 years from now? Right? So, 100 years ago, basically, almost no cars, no internet, no GPS, no nuclear weapons, no
nothing. And then in the last 20, 30 years, it seemed we just crack the code somehow, right? Like the question also is that those are AI agents. They're based on something, right? Like large language models. But what do we do if we have an abundance of intelligence? Like, what do we do if we're hyper intelligent and all of a sudden we can crack the code to everything? I think this question truly is broader than just AI agents. Yeah,
indeed.
But Albert summarized it very well. Okay, we have what could be the ultimate limit. Okay, we had that. Shrieks is also asking a competitor to Gitcoin. No Shrieks, way cooler. I think you're referring to what we're about to launch. Way cooler. At least we think.
But really, like, you can absolutely do that. Okay, so okay, Tony, can you move for a couple slides?
Yeah, sure. Just let me know to which one.
So one thing is here, like I already told you, like blockchains are limited, right? Okay. So blockchains have a limitation, as I said before. Go back a bit. All right. Blockchains are limited because they cannot connect to the internet. They can't understand natural language. And so they cannot deal with unstructured data, and they cannot make subjective decisions, right?
Yeah.
So Shrix is asking, can you build a competitor to Gitcoin? So what is Gitcoin, right? Well, projects can essentially create different type of bounties to people, then go build them, and then essentially get paid for that piece of work, right? So yes, you can absolutely do that on GenLayer. Can you go? Let's see, next slide. I've got no idea why my mouse is not working. Everything else is working. Well, the camera is not working, the mouse is not working. So essentially, you can think of GenLayer is a protocol for trustless decision making. The decision making in Gitcoin would be, okay, like, should I get paid or not? Should I get paid or not for my work, right? And so right now that's happening through human votes. What happens if you just have a court system, right? Like a digital judge that can decide, okay, yeah, you did your work, and so you will get paid, right? Let's go to the next.
Yeah, one sec.
Right. So what GenLayer is essentially a distributed ledger technology that uses AI at the consensus level to enable non-deterministic operations, right? What that means is that you now can have, again, this type of digital judge that can make subjective decisions on different type of things, right? So it can go to the internet, fetch some information, it can go back, it can evaluate that information through an LLM, and then essentially make a decision. It's like the base unit for GenLayer is not really the transaction, is a decision, right? Those decisions can be affecting things that are on other blockchains. So what's going to happen is, for example, if you have a project on Gitcoin and you want to decide, okay, who should be getting paid, what you can do is you can essentially code an intelligent contract on GenLayer that will evaluate some code and then will decide who should be getting paid or not. And instead of having the human there, you would just have the consensus of multiple AIs doing that, right? So what you will see is actually quite a lot of this. You will see lots of new protocols that now don't need a human, and also they are autonomous, right? So they work 24/7, like Uniswap does, right? So Uniswap is a type of primitive that didn't exist, 15 years ago, right? It existed about 10 years ago, since 2018, I think it is, right? So what we're trying to build is, can we build a new jurisdiction, a new layer, so that people can come in and build new primitives, such as Uniswap. In this case, these new primitives will not be really just dealing with transactions, they will be dealing with decisions, right? So for example, you can have one of these primitives that is evaluating code and trying to make a decision on who should be getting paid or not, depending, the quality of the code, if it gets merged and so on, right? So that's the idea.
Yeah. It's actually like, just imagine, where would you put a human usually? Like, I like the example with prediction market. You would need a human to resolve a bet. But what would this human do? This human would just, using solutions that are out there today, would just look up in the internet or be there, physically, for instance, for a sports game, and then just, validate that this is correct. Like, why would you need a human to do that? Like, why do we need to keep humans in the loop for things that are actually very easy to verify, right? That's one of the capabilities that actually is so easy for us, because we can just natively, GenLayer can just natively search the internet and fetch that data, right?
imagine how many disputes between two parties in the planet are there right now that are for $1,000. And if they're for $1,000, you probably don't want to go to a lawyer and spend thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to resolve it over years. So imagine all the situations where if you had a resolution layer that just, you ask it and it will give you the resolution. It will tell you, okay, you're wrong because of this, or he is wrong because of that, right? If that was baked in, for example, in the contract, so you can say, this contract between Tony and Albert is essentially governed by the contract in GenLayer. And if there's a dispute, no problem. We'll do it in front of the court, but then the cost of the litigation will be taken care of by the one that loses the first contract, for example, right? The first resolution. Then you moving from these years of litigation to 100 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Completely different. That basically unlocks, for example, trade finance in a way that right now it's not possible. Right now, you have tons of people that can, tons of companies that can't access trade finance because, for example, uncertainties in the regulation, or for example, because you're trying to get funding from a bank that's in another country, right? So, what's the cost? How long will it take to resolve a dispute if this actually happened, right? So, yeah, that's the goal. Can we essentially create a new legal framework for the future of commerce, and that legal framework needs to be fast and global.
Okay, we have a few questions to answer, Albert, so I'm just going to chime in here. Random, I think that's a question. I mean, we can both answer it. I'm just going to go ahead. What would be the loyal community members be looking forward to in the coming days, and how can they contribute to the status quo of the project? There's a lot of things actually, Random, you can already do in our Discord. You can contribute by attending our events. Obviously, we always value members who spread the word around GenLayer. We're a blockchain, a distributed ledger technology. We are scaling, we are growing. So anything you can see on the Discord right now, any support on Telegram, with the events, with content you create, we are actively rewarding that content, which will be remembered in the future. So anything that you can create around there is highly valued. So I would kindly invite you to just join our Discord or our Telegram, and then either Albert, me, or our community moderators will be happy to help you. So that would be the answer to that. And then we have another one related to this topic from Shrieks, which I think, Albert, you can answer, is how do you see AI jailbreaking evolve with the rise of AI agents? Do you think the jailbreaking techniques that we have now can be used on agents, or will breaking agents require more sophisticated techniques that we haven't seen yet?
This is I would like to answer in two different dimensions. One of them would be the actual question, right? Which is, okay, yes, I think that these AIs are going to get better and better every single day, right? So they're going to become harder to trick. But then a fundamental thing that we're doing at GenLayer is, instead of trusting a single AI, you're going to a bunch of different AIs. This is called the Condorcet-Jury theorem, right? What this means is, instead of having a single AI give you an answer, a single judge give you an answer, you will get a better response by having a bunch of different AIs combine their response, right? So in this case, it's through majority voting, right? What this means is that if some AI is biased in a way that you can prompt inject, essentially you can get it to do something that you want that is not desired, maybe you can convince one, but it will be harder to convince two, and essentially the majority of the validator set, right? The idea is, through having different AI models, each one of them have their own biases, it reduces the attack surface by having essentially the majority vote across multiple of them, right? So I think that jailbreaking will exist for a very long time. I think that humans can be jailbroken in a way, right? There's different types of social engineering. There's different type of tricks that you can place on a human, and they will continue to also happen to an AI, right? Now, there's many different types of jailbreaks and prompt injection, right? You can basically do it through emojis. You can do it through Unicode characters. You can be doing it through storytelling, right? Now, slowly they're getting better. I don't think that this will just disappear, right? And then another thing as well is like, AI alignment and AI safety that's being worked on very much, right? Now there's techniques, for example, to go and look, for example, during inference. So now this thing, the chain of thought, right? So right now you have all these agents. Normally they it's a loop, right, between the software and the model, right? And so you can read how they're actually thinking. And this is right now being outputted already for some of the cases, such as R1, right? So, for example, a couple of days ago, I think it was OpenAI released a paper where they were explaining how it's not easy to actually even like be tracking the thought process of the AI, because even if you're trying to stop it to think something bad, it can find a way to to overcome that, right? So it can be trying to hide from itself. Okay, I'm inside of a jail. I don't want to be thinking that because I'm being told not to think about that. I still want to think
Yeah.
about that. So I will just not call it that. I will call it something else, right? So that's the ghost. Yes.
Almost
I think
like a
it's
human lying to him or herself, right? Like I think you can see that in humans too, right? Like, oh, actually I would have to clean my flat, but then there's this and this and this happening. Although, or like, oh, I have this bad thought, I'm just gonna keep myself up with something else.
Mhm.
At least that's the biggest parallel that I see. Like, humans are also flawed, so yeah.
I think
Okay.
we're going to a world where it's going to be basically impossible to know who you're dealing with. If you're dealing
Yeah.
with is a human or a machine, it's not going to be a Turing test. It's going to be more like a reverse Turing test, right? And then, yeah, how do you know that the one that you're talking to is a human, not an AI, right? And probably it will not matter because like every human will have a bunch of AIs working for them, right?
Yeah.
So I think you need to work on that with that assumption in mind. We're going to a world with 1 trillion entities, right? Out of which, pretty much everything is AI and 8 billion of them are not, right?
Yeah, very well said. Okay, we have two more questions, actually three more. Bolu Engine, which AI agents can you recommend now in terms of affordability and efficiency?
Right now, look, I mean, there's tons of frameworks, right? And when you're talking about this, is like, okay, so for doing what thing, right? For example, I am using a lot all the coding ones. So Cursor has an
Mm,
agent, V0 has an agent. I am all the time using V0. Like Tony knows, like I'm all the time like spinning up like different simulators for, okay, let's look at
yeah,
the consensus, at the fees, how should the tokenomics work, like all of that stuff, right? It's just very easy to get an agent to be writing code for you right now, and it's doing it very well. So to me, in terms of like reliability, that's the best right now. Like again, it depends on what you want the agents to what to do, right? And right now, I'm not yet very interested on them, be shilling for me and like yeah. My focus right now is
yeah,
on that. I've also been trying the operator from OpenAI, and unfortunately, it's not too smart yet. I mean, that could change tomorrow, but like I've been trying to get it to do a couple very simple tasks, and like it just isn't working. So that's nice infrastructure right now already, but it's not
yeah.
really reliable. That's my take right now. Yeah.
And in terms of affordability, I just mentioned before, I mean, soon you'll be able to get GPT's developer, right? But it's not
Yeah.
very affordable. It's like 10,000. I think you know the number, Albert. 10,000 a month.
Yeah, so they've kind of like hinted at like, or there's a sort of leak of like
Yeah,
$2,000 for a knowledge worker, $10,000 a month for a developer, and then $20,000 for a PhD. But the question there is like, okay, so like how well do they work, right? How fast do they
yeah,
work? Do they work at a one person per month time, or do they work at 100 times faster than that, right? Yeah, do they mess up or
yeah,
not, right? So yeah, we'll see about that. For
yeah.
now, like the ones that are really surprisingly good that everybody should be using, V0, Replit, Cursor, all those ones, like yeah, you're really
Yeah,
missing out if you're not doing it, because it's no longer just for developers. Like if you're not a
definitely.
developer, just
I've
download
used
Winsight.
Cursor.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah,
Very
I've
good.
used Cursor for our docs section, and it was I was amazed by how good it is, and I'm not a developer. I
Yeah,
mean,
they're
obviously it's
getting
very
super good.
easy code,
They're getting
right?
super
Like
good.
it's crazy, yeah. Okay, but Dan, how will GenLayer attract other projects to build on GenLayer? Why should projects not prefer Solana or Ethereum?
Okay, that's a super important question. All right. GenLayer is not trying to compete with other projects, with other L1s or L2s. We're not competing with them. Think about it like this. There's 1,000 blockchains out there right now. All of them, they have essentially the same features. Maybe they're faster, maybe they're cheaper, but they all have deterministic logic, right? They cannot connect to the internet. They cannot understand natural language or unstructured information. What we're doing is we're creating a layer which they can connect to basically make a decision. GenLayer can be called from any existing blockchain through Layer 0, Axelar, Hyperlane, any of these interoperability protocols. For example, the ZK Sync the Elastic Network Gateway, for example. So the idea is to make GenLayer be accessible from anywhere. And so when you will have a business model that works on GenLayer in terms of like, okay, I'm going to be getting paid to make decisions, let's say, yes, that is one of the protocols. So then that protocol can be connecting and moving the assets that are in other blockchains. So Solana can go to GenLayer to make a decision for a DAO at the same time as while Ethereum has a prediction market that wants to resolve some dispute, and then it's going to GenLayer to go fetch this market and make a decision, right? It's a decision maker. It's how do you make decisions trustlessly without humans in the loop. And we're using blockchain in order to have a unstoppable infrastructure.
Thanks, Albert. Okay, I'm aware of time, Albert. I know that you probably have another back-to-back meeting coming up. I'm gonna answer the last question at the very end, related to the Power Home app. Albert, is there any other slide to kind of finish it off with our vision? We have a lot of people tuning in, and I know that interest is always high when you're around. So we'll definitely do another live stream session. But yeah.
No, if you want to go to the 11th, so 2 slides,
yeah.
2, 3, 4, I don't know, just go next. Okay, there. So this is just some of these examples, right? What happens if you can resolve contract disputes and moderate content? So for example, what happens if you can have an intelligent contract where basically people are saying, hey, this content, is it okay or is it not okay to put in the platform? This decision, you don't want a human. Look what happened at Facebook, right?
Yeah.
How do you make it so that with fixed rules, immutable rules, transparent rules, there's a contract that can evaluate content and say, hey, this one should go in and this one should not go in, right? What happens if you have, an escrow? That means that it's a contract that can hold assets, and this escrow is an intelligent escrow, and it can be deciding when to release or not to release, right? You want to make a bet, you put in money, and then the system will be deciding, okay, yes, you won the bet, or I won the bet. Yes, you can have smart contracts such as, a stable coin that can change its supply based on what's happening on different central banks. Or you can have a parametric insurance or an insurance system on basically anything. Because now you can have that instead of having to go to humans to basically make a resolution, which costs like $5,000 right now, well, now it can cost like less than $1, right? Or having a DAO that can make decisions by itself, right? Just one final thought, because I just tweeted about this today, and I think it's, imagine that you have an intelligent contract that can, while it's being executed, go to an LLM, write code, and then execute that code. It's essentially a contract that can write the code to solve itself, right? This you can do on GenLayer. I just can't imagine how you can do it anywhere else, right?
Definitely. I mean, it really shows, like in the long term, or actually we have this idea, this vision of, a synthetic jurisdiction for the AI age, but the slide we just have pulled up really shows you what you can already build on GenLayer and what will continue in the future. Like, obviously, it just shows this subjective decision-making, non-deterministic transaction, just really shows you how broad it is. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's almost like asking in the early days of Ethereum, like, what can you build on it? Like, I mean, a lot. Like, what can't you build on it is the question that is more accurate in this sense. That's at least how I think about it. Okay,
it really
Albert.
It really opens up tons of applications that right now are not possible.
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you can think of GenLayers like if Bitcoin is trustless money and Ethereum is trustless applications, GenLayer is trustless decision making, right? And that's the thing, the biggest takeaway for me, which is, this is a trustless decision making protocol. What do you like? How important is to make decisions, right? So this is what we're focusing on.
Amazing. Okay, team, I promise you to bring Albert back again.
Yeah.
We will definitely have
him
him
on.
on.
Sorry for the technical issues. It's quite annoying.
No worries.
My mouse is still not working. I'll restart now. It's just okay. Next time.
No worries. So for everyone who wants to see Albert more often, join our Discord. We have weekly AMAs there, and Albert is also a frequent visitor there. And now the closing from my side is we have this POAP Home app, and this is also related to the last question we had from Bolo Engine, which was, why do we need the POAP? So we are using these POAPs as a proof of attendance, as the name already says, for our live streams and AMAs, and they will also be used, to determine your role on our Discord, but also to, keep you in mind for our future rewards. That being said, I just pinned this message. You can find the POAP Home app. I shared it on X. And if you just type in the secret password trust for the AI age, you can mint the app, the POAP in the Home app now. I'm sorry, Sheiks. I see that you are referring to a question that you had, but we've answered all the questions in here, like the AI jailbreaking. Albert answered this one as well. But I can offer you to send me the question on Discord or Telegram, and I will send you Albert's answer.
Yep.
I think that should be fine. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Mint your POAP. Join our community. Albert, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
And yeah, see you next week in person.
See you next week. Bye, Tony.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.